Good morning, all. I would like to call this meeting to order and welcome all members of council joining us in person and virtually this morning. Welcome Councillor Snoblin joining us virtually. And to all of our staff, welcome, that will provide us facts and information so we can make decisions in the best interest of all residents, full-time and seasonal, of ACW, and the Corporation of ACW, and also to the public that are joining us and members of the media. I would like to indicate that meetings of council are live streamed on the Township's official website in accordance with the live streaming and virtual participation of meetings policy. Do any members of council have a pecuniary interest to indicate at this time or potential conflict of interest of any agenda item that we have today? Thank you very much. We do have 3 sets of minutes, one being the special council minutes of the 20th of October, our road tour, the council meeting minutes of October 21, and the Committee of Adjustment on the same day. And I would entertain a mover and a seconder for the adoption of all 3 sets of minutes, and that is Councillor Forrester and Miltonberg. That Ashfield-Colborne-Wawanosh Township Council hereby adopts the minutes as provided in items 3.1, 3.2, and 3.3. Do we have any questions on any of these sets of minutes? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion? And that is carried. Thank you. Open forum is an opportunity for any members of the public to make any comments that they would care to regarding any agenda item that we have today. And if there's anyone that would like to make any comments, I would welcome them at this time. Seeing none, we have no delegations today. Nothing under Treasury, Planning, or Buildings, so we'll move on to 9.1. That is the Council Remuneration Bylaw, and that would be the 2% consumer price increase on an annual basis. Staff obtains this by policy, and it is Council's prerogative to include this. Do we have any questions or comments? If not, I'll entertain a Evan, please. Councillor Hickey.
If I have a comment, if that's okay.
Please.
Currently, we're getting $153.71 for a meeting. Over 3 hours, that's $51.24 if we sat in these chairs for 3 hours. I think an hour and a half is a pretty good estimate of what we sit here usually, and that's $102.47. It breaks out to an hour. I think that's well paid, so I'll be voting no. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments? Councillor Miltonberg, please.
Well, I appreciate your comments, Evan. I have 2 of my own. I do a lot of work besides what happens in this seat. Like, I read hundreds of pages for each meeting, and I take phone calls on personal time and all sorts of things, and that's included in my mind. I know there's a stipend, but it's not enough for me. But the more important point I want to make is, and I've talked to lots of councillors all over the place, this has been set, this is actually the same age as it was in 2001, just increased by the cost of living. And while you or I might not need that $150, I don't think that we want our elected people to be only people who can afford to do this on a part volunteer basis. And if you go to other municipalities nearby, for example, South Bruce is a really great example. They haven't had a pay increase since 2001. And if somebody brings it up, there's angry shouting and it goes down again. And you can look at the demographic of who runs. I think we need younger people running. I think we need people who aren't, you know, when I started this job, the wage that I took, I paid to have someone milk my cows so I could do this job. You know what I mean? It's not, I don't feel it should be a job for retired people. And you have to take time off work to do it. So I think that the policy is a great policy. I've supported it all along, and I'll continue to. And so I'll be voting yes.
Thanks. I think something to note is the fact that this is just the cost of living, and to fall behind and then have to have an increase substantially is not desirable. It's always better to be current as opposed to a larger increase. So I will now ask Deputy Mayor, please.
Yeah, sorry, Mr. Mayor, this was just a last-minute thought. Have we ever looked at other municipalities as to see what they are for their, and I guess I'm looking at Mark or well, Alan's not here, so anyways, Mark.
Okay, thanks for the question. CAO, please.
Last fall.
Thank you. Councillor Snoblin, please.
Yes, could I ask staff to refresh my memory? When this came up previously, I believe it was a year ago, what was the result of that?
Thanks for the question. CEO, please.
Okay, I'm pulling this out of my head. I don't have it ahead of me, but if I recall last year when W&U Consulting did the review, there was no increase to the meeting rates, but there was an increase, whatever the CPI was last year, I think it was 1.9, just to the stipend rates. And then when I looked at the policy coming forward, they said after that year, then we can carry on doing whatever we're doing with the CPI, so.
If I may?
Please follow up.
That was what I seem to recall, but I wasn't completely certain. But I'd like to chime in on Councillor Miltenberg's comments in that I think we need to pause for a second and, realize that next year is an election year. And Councillor Miltenberg brings up a good point that if we want to continue to attract people into, giving some consideration to serving as a councillor on the municipality of ACW, we have to make it so that we are progressive and we recognize that nobody's time is free and that we have to keep up with the times, as the mayor said. We don't want to fall behind, because when you fall behind and then try to catch up, that becomes a huge problem for, in particular in this case, a council that will be coming in new next year at this time. So I don't think that any of us would like to burden any new council, whether it's the same council or 7 brand new faces. We don't want to be the council that's responsible for, being stagnant and not progressive. So I think in order to keep attracting people to this position, and good people to this position, as Councillor Miltenberg said, not just retired people, but people that are willing to take time off work, as many of our members of council do already. So I fully endorse this, and I'll be voting in favor of it. Thank you.
Thank you for that. And just final comment that I'm going to make is the fact that Councillor Miltenberg commented about calls. I take a lot of calls from residents, and I respond to each and every call. Sometimes it involves a visit or a conversation or that sort of thing, and I think that's our responsibility as councillors to do that, to serve our residents to the best of our ability. So I'm going to ask for a show, clerk, please.
For the sake of process, and because this might be a divisive decision, I would suggest that council consider making the decision on this during the bylaw section. That way it can actually be considered formally.
Okay, so I'm just going, Councillor Snowburn, please.
Follow up, I'll be asking for a recorded vote at that time.
Okay, thank you for that. So I'm going to ask for a show of hands if we'll consider, CAO, please.
I would just let the agenda, as Florence indicated, just let the agenda fall through to the bylaw in section 18.
Okay, so we'll pass this by and discuss it further in section 18 as a bylaw. Okay, perfect, thank you. 9.2 is the annual adjustment for the 2026 pay grid for our staff, and that is for information purposes. We see the increase involved in that, and it's very appropriate. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, 9.3 is the Maitland Valley Conservation Authority Memorandum of Understanding. Maitland Valley is very, very important to us in ACW because of our 50 kilometers of lake shore, and they do great work on our behalf. Do any members of council have any questions on this? And if not, I'll ask for a show of hands if we're in support of considering this in section 18 as bylaw. That is supported by council. Thank you. 9.4 is the Ben Miller Community Hall Parkland revitalization as it relates to the accessible pathway, and it will involve a motion for the scope of the work, and further that a local contractor would be installing the accessible pathway. Any questions or comments on this? So I will ask for a mover and a seconder for this, please, and that is Deputy Mayor Vanstone and Councillor Hickey. Seconds, that council accept the change of scope of work from Blue Imp SF Scott Manufacturing Company Limited in the amount of $118,862 plus HST for the supply and installation of playground equipment and barrier fencing at the Ben Miller Community Hall and Ball Diamonds, and further that staff work with a local contractor to install the accessible pathway. All in favor of the motion is read. And that is carried. Thank you. We have not, 9.5 is the Lucknow Recreation appointment of winter positions. And I will ask for a show of hands if we're in support of consideration of this in section 18 as a bylaw. And that is supported by council. Thank you. We have nothing under water or drainage. We do have a public works report from our public works superintendent, Tom McCarthy. Any questions or comments on that? And I'll go first to Councillor Forster and then Miltonberg, please.
Great, thank you. It says you attended a winter roads meeting with MTO and Huron County OPP. What are they gonna do differently or anything?
Thanks for the question. Tom, please.
So we're having a follow-up meeting from that meeting, and we're to get some more definitive answers at this coming meeting. So it didn't make a lot of progress at the last one, so we're confident that the next meeting's gonna be better.
Did they address Highway 21?
We discussed it.
So nothing different then?
So we laid out what we'd be willing to accept, and it's kind of back and forth between the MTO and the police. So we'll have a better idea after this next round of talks.
Thank you.
Thank you. CAO, please.
Just to follow up with that, I was at that meeting as well, and they knew my comments very well. I said, you don't close the highway for 9 days. And I said, you should have did this, you should have did that. I said, the whole thing being closed at once, I said, that's unacceptable. You could have opened up in sections. And I said, the bluffs, I said, you could have opened up to the bluffs, and the OPP agreed with me. And it was good to have OPP on her side, and Lisa Thompson's part of these discussions as well, and she's been emailing me a bit, so it's good that, and it's basically the MTO that are creating this problem down here, but I'm hopeful that it can be resolved, so, yeah, just sorry, I had to just add a little bit to it.
So, like, you're just gonna open it to the bluffs, and that's it? So, like, what if a big truck went up there, and how does he get turned around?
So I don't want to get into the weeds with this because it hasn't been agreed to, but they would put a barricade at Blythe Road and at down at Salford saying full closure so many kilometers ahead, and when it comes to Blythe Road, it would say only local traffic, no truck traffic, not a through road, only open for another 400 meters, whatever it is. So it would say to the bluff entrance. So OPP are receptive to that because they received many calls as well last year from the bluffs because there's 480 homes in there times two. That's a lot of upset people. So
Yeah, the reason because I'm on that CHIP committee, and the OPP said they weren't happy, so that'll make them happy. Okay, thank you.
Perfect. Thanks for the question. Councillor Miltonberg, please.
Yeah, those were my questions, not because I'm on CHIP, but because I'm at Kingsbridge, which was closed for 9 days. So I'm very glad your comments have been received. You're hopeful. I would expect that, are you not successful, we'll be taking it a step further because we can't leave the citizens stranded. Like, it's one thing for Kingsbridge to be, that's pretty far down, and I saw those banks, but it did not have to be closed all that far. So thanks for the work you're doing, and keep us posted, I guess.
Perfect. Thank you. Any further questions for Tom? Comments? Seeing none. Great work. Thank you very much. Committee reports. Do any members of council have any committee reports that they would like to share at this time? And I'll go first to Councillor Snowblin and then Councillor Miltonberg, please.
Yes, thank you very much. I don't remember the exact date now. It was the last council meeting anyway. I was invited to attend the conference up at Bruce Nuclear where the Community Safety and Wellbeing Committee received a check for $5,000 to be used to sustain and help make improvements to the Community Safety and Wellbeing Committee. Not just our committee for Huron that I sit on, but also the Gray County, Bruce Gray County also received $5,000, very generous gift from Bruce Nuclear and the Nuclear Institute. And it was a wonderful celebration of being recognized with the work that the committee does. So I wanted to again thank council for your latitude and letting me leave council early that day to be up there. And it was a good news item.
Thank you very much for that. Indeed, it was. Councillor Miltenberg, please.
Now, this is going to be a lengthier report because it's a report on the municipal agricultural planning forum that I went to called Cultivating Common Ground. It was a 2-day event. Day one was the traditional bus tour, except that it was a little bit non-traditional because generally you get on the bus and it's a school bus and you rattle around wherever. Well, this was Simcoe County, so the day started at 7 and ended at 6:15. And fortunately, they had a more comfortable bus, but it was a very long day because we went all over Simcoe. We were in Collingwood and Barrie, and I don't know the places, but we went all over. So it was a very long, fascinating day, but very long. The second day is traditionally an in-person. You sit and you listen to speakers and take notes and stuff. And for the first time ever, I'm delighted to say that Huron County had a presence there. Denise Van Amsfort was there because she was actually she and Wayne Caldwell were there doing a presentation about secondary residence change in Huron County. Lisa Thompson was there, and actually the mayor from Perth South was there because it's in Perth South next year. So that's really exciting, and I hope more of us can come. The day also was long because, you know, at these events, these politicians usually get up there and do the feel-good, shake your hand kind of conversation, but Lisa went on at length about agriculture, which I don't think they were expecting, but I very much appreciated it. For example, every dollar that's invested in agriculture gives you $7 in return, things like that. I will say that Denise was there taking copious notes. So on the parts where I'm lightly touching on, she was taking pictures and writing things down. So I'm like, great, Huron County is getting this. So I was also presuming that some of the things that they were talking about we weren't doing yet, and she was very interested in. So then that's why I go. But they talked about the economic drivers, and I thought this was actually fascinating. They talked about the GDP that's generated by oil and gas, forestry, aluminum and steel, and auto. All together in Canada are 150 billion. And agriculture in Canada is 150 billion. If you go to Ontario, all of those combined, the oil, gas, forestry, aluminum, steel, auto, generate GDP of 39.6, and agriculture does 51.5. So when we talk about the industries, agriculture is the top one in Ontario, and there were slides about the number of jobs. For example, in Canada, all those industries generate 823 and thousand, of course, and agriculture does 2,300,000. So we really outpace all the other industries combined, which I don't think is necessarily recognized. They had a lot of suggestions, for example, to develop a clear definition and policy related to agritourism, have dedicated informed staff, and this is where Denise was really writing things down, communicate with farmers about policy and direct farm matters, which I think is what we're starting to do with the proposed, what are we calling it? The short-term rental committee that's about agriculture that is getting off the ground. That's directly doing it. But one thing I thought was interesting, they were talking about the tax rate for farmers. And of course, there is a kickback of 25%. They pay the residential, and then you get a 25% is what you're actually paying. But for every dollar spent on taxes by an agricultural plot, they get 35 cents of municipal services. And for that same amount of residential taxes, get $1.38 in services. So the amount of services per house is much higher if you're residential than if you're agriculture. Now, my husband did point out that agriculture also probably has a higher impact on roads, at least it does on ours, maybe not all of them. So it's not necessarily apples to oranges, but it is something to keep in mind. And the one part that, that Denise was really interested in was an agricultural innovation grant, and they started in Bruce County. They call it Spruce the Bruce. And I'm not going to speak on it because I think she's going to at some point, but it's how to help our agritourism and smaller agricultural producers. I thought, so to recap, it was excellent. I was thrilled that Huron County was there. And two, it's in Perth South next year. I think we could really, if you go once and you like it locally, you might go a little further, but it's really worth going to. Thank you.
Thank you for that fulsome report. Any questions or comments, Councillor Snoblin, on that? Really glad that you attended on behalf of BC.
I'm Councillor Miltenberg, but thank you.
I misspoke, Councillor Miltenberg. Thank you very much for your attendance and your report on that. Any further committee reports? Seeing none, I would like to share that on the 15th of October, I participated in a municipal input on strategic planning for economic development in Huron County. Pretty well all of the municipalities in Huron County were in attendance of that, and we're all affected by economic development throughout Huron County in our respective municipalities, and it was a very worthwhile strategic direction. On the 26th of October, I attended a 20th anniversary for the Habitat for Humanity that was hosted over at Cowbell at Blythe, and in that time of 20 years, Habitat for Humanity built 20 homes in Huron County, and it is absolutely a tremendous organization that does great work on our behalf. So I did want to share that in a great harvest dinner Saturday night at Kingsbridge. So with that, is there any new business that anyone would like to bring forward to a future meeting? Seeing none, we have no correspondence for direction. There is correspondence for information. Does anyone have any comments on Roma delegations that will be coming forward at the Roma conference? Councillor Miltenberg, please.
Well, I looked at it, and really from what I'm hearing and what we seem to be working on is gravel, short-term rentals, and agricultural property standards. Those seems to be the hot topics. I don't think we're going to get anywhere with gravel and short-term rental. We've been banging the door on them for a couple of years now. I think we're a little bit new into the agricultural talks to make a delegation. I hate to give up the opportunity to speak to a minister and tell him what we think, but I'm not sure that there's anything I can think of. But I'm happy to support any, and of course be the mouthpiece when we get there, if so desired by council. And that's, but I've got nothing at this point. Thanks.
Okay, thank you very much. Councillor Snoblin, please.
I'll go back to the Community Safety and Wellbeing Committee about this. It was something we had discussed briefly in previous meetings, but it is a mandated committee that was mandated by the provincial government back in 2018, I believe, and there is no funding for that, even though it's mandated. And I think you've heard me tell you before that the funding for that committee comes from all the lower tier. So ACW, as well as other lower tier municipalities, contribute money towards that committee. And as I mentioned before, we received a generous gift from Bruce Power, but we can't continue to rely on gifts. So, and since it is mandated, it's our belief as part of the committee that it should be funded somehow. So I think there was some chatter about, I'm trying to think of what municipality it was. Florence, you might be able to help me out. Was it Guelph?
County of Oxford.
Oxford, yeah. They were taking a lead in that. I'm not certain if you know more on the working group, Florence, about that, but I think there's something brewing on that. Am I not mistaken?
Thank you for the question. Clerk, please.
At the moment, I'm not sure if there's anything scheduled for Roma. I know there was something hopeful at AMO, but I can ask and see if there's something going. What we could do is, if council would like to request a delegation for this particular purpose, I can register it, and then if Oxford ends up going together, maybe 2 delegations or just back out of one. I think it would be better to apply and get in the queue versus wait and then not do it, so.
Councillor Snoblin, would you care to make a comment, please?
Sorry, I was muted. Can I go back and forth with you on that, Florence, and I'll contact the co-chairs of the working group, Stacy and Michaela. And AMO might be the best, and I think we were talking about AMO, but I guess when you're trying to look for funding, shooting with a broad range is maybe a little bit better than just targeting one particular area.
For sure. So yeah, you're welcome to let me know, and then we can bring it back to the next meeting if
Okay,
that's the case. Okay.
thanks.
Okay, we're good. Councillor Miltenberg and then Councillor Forster, please.
Sorry, Glenn, this was back to the municipal ag forum. I forgot to say one thing. Is that okay?
Absolutely, please.
On that day one, they had, you'd go and see the farm or the plant or the nursery, and then the owner spoke. And without exception, and into the next day, they were all angry at the planners. And so much so that the delegates were going, did they vet who was talking? Like, there was a real theme. They were very unhappy with the planners. Not necessarily their planner, although some of them were, but the lower tiers didn't agree with the upper tier, and this upper tier was not the same as the one right next door. So if you're thinking Huron and Bruce, and then the rules were different, and they were really struggling in agriculture with it. Honestly, at least 5 people mentioned the problem with planners. And so much so that I went up to Denise before she spoke and said, I just want you to know we don't feel that way about you in Huron County. It was a real theme, and I think we should be grateful for the planners that we have at Huron County is what I wanted to say. Thank you.
Well, you're absolutely correct on that, and Huron County had the first planning department in Ontario, and it's over 50 years old, and we have an excellent relationship with our Huron County planners and especially our planner here in ACW with Megan Titterning. So your comments we're fortunate. We are fortunate. Councillor Forster, please.
Okay, thanks, Glenn. On my doctor recruitment report last meeting, Bill brought up that Clinton's ER is closed way too often. I know Wingham has the same problem. I know squeaky wheel gets the grease, right? See what they're doing on that problem? That could be something. I know I'm not going, but it's something you could look into. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that. And we have had those conversations previously, and it's not a simple fix. It's a human resources situation. There's just not enough staff, be it physicians and or nurses, to have the ERs open, all of them open 24/7. So I would suggest that is currently being addressed. Councillor Miltenberg, please.
Well, I want to kind of jump on that a little bit. It is a staffing problem, but the problem with the staffing, as far as I can see, is the wages that they're being given. But regardless, ACW doesn't actually have it. I think that's the county that should be addressing it, not ACW, but I do agree with your comments.
Okay, thank you for that. Deputy Mayor, please.
Yes, and I agree with Jennifer on that. The problem is that you can't try to keep hiring part-time people. There just isn't the money there. There is people, but they're not paying them and they're not bringing them in. So that is the problem. So, and I'm hoping the Ontario government knows that, but they don't seem to be doing anything about it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So we'll leave the delegations. Councillor Snoblin will communicate with our clerk on that moving forward. Okay. 16.2, Maitland Trail Association 50th anniversary. They've invited representation to a breakfast on the 8th of November on a Sunday. I can attend on behalf of ACW if you would like. That is up to council, though. Deputy Mayor, please. Okay.
I don't know.
Sorry, I can't hear you, Bill.
Sorry about that. I was understood that it was the whole council that was invited if they wanted to go, but I could be 100% wrong on that, but I was just talking to one of the fellows, and that's what I understood. Thanks.
Okay, I have no idea. Clarification, CAO, please.
Actually, I got the email, it was addressed to me, but I put it on the agenda because I thought I didn't want to go, and I thought maybe someone here wanted to go, so.
So,
If I may again, Mr. Mayor, then, yeah, if one person would like to go, then by all means, let's just do the one. Thanks.
that's up to council. Is it okay if I attend, or what's, I'll ask for show of hands if that is the desire of council or not. Okay, thank you. The Ben Miller Community Hall Board minutes, any questions or comments on that? Under unfinished business, Remembrance Day, Councillor Forrester will lay the wreath at Lucknow, and I will lay a wreath in Goderich. The Roma Conference, Councillors Hickey, Miltenberg, Snowblin, and myself are registered for that, and with OGRA, Councillor Forrester and myself. Any questions or comments on that? And if not, we'll go on to the bylaw. Councillor Snowblin, please.
When's the deadline date for OGRA? Whoops, I don't know what happened here.
CAO, please.
The early bird for OGRA, I think, is in the middle of March, and the rooms for OGRA open, I think, on January 17th.
Okay. Thank you
The
very much.
brain is working today.
I thought I smelled smoke.
Okay, you're good with that, Councillor Snowblin?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, thank you. So the first bylaw will be the Memorandum of Understanding with the Maitland Valley Conservation Authority, and I would entertain a mover and a seconder for this, please. Councillor Miltenberg moves, Councillor Forrester seconds, that leave be given to introduce bylaw number 60-2025, being a bylaw to authorize the execution of a Memorandum of Understanding between the Maitland Valley Conservation Authority, its members, and the Township of Ashfield-Colborne-Wawanosh, and then now be read severally, a first, second, and third time, and finally passed this 4th day of November 2025. All in favor of the motion is read, and that is carried. Thank you. Discussion further on 18.2, the council remuneration. Anything further to discuss, or will Councillor Miltenberg, please?
Yeah, I've been thinking about what Evan said more, and I just want to correct something. If the meeting takes an hour and a half, that's not how long it takes me. You know, I was in the barn this morning, I raced home at 8 o'clock, I showered, I drove here. I have to go back to the barn because I couldn't quite get done, and in fact, on Tuesday mornings, council mornings, we hire someone else to milk. Now, I did dog it and didn't go till 6:30, so I probably could have got my work done. But regardless, it doesn't take an hour and a half to attend a meeting. And anybody who is sitting here in a tie knows it took you, well, it took me 5 minutes to do the tie, but whatever. I mean, it takes time to attend a meeting. And I think when people say, oh, it only took you an hour and a half, no, I prepared for the meeting. I got ready for the meeting, and my morning's blown because of the meeting. I didn't plan anything else. So, anyway, I'd like to make the motion.
Okay. This motion is moved by Councillor Miltenberg. Do we have a seconder for it? Seconded by Councillor Snowblin. And that leave be given to introduce bylaw number 63-2025, being a bylaw to establish remuneration rates for the members of council for the corporation of the Township of Ashfield-Colborne-Wawanosh, and then it now be read severally, a first, second, and third time, and finally passed this 4th day of November 2025. A recorded vote has been requested, so I will pass it over to our clerk at this time, please.
I think Bill has his hand up.
I'm sorry, comment?
I've got a question, and thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I don't know who can answer this, but how much money would that be in a year, just off the top of your head, that is 2%? Are we trying to save nothing, or what are we trying to do?
Okay, this CAO is pretty quick with math, please.
I don't have that number in my head right now, sorry. I don't know.
Okay, I will defer to our clerk, please.
So we have received a request for a recorded vote. The motion reads that leave be given to introduce bylaw 63-2025, being a bylaw to establish the remuneration rates for members of council for the corporation of the Township of Ashfield-Colborne-Wawanosh, and that it now be read severally a first, second, and third time, and finally passed this 4th day of November 2025. It was moved by Councillor Miltenberg, seconded by Councillor Snoblin. I will now call for a recorded vote. Please answer yes or no when I call your name. Councillor Snoblin.
Yes, in favor.
Councillor Forrester.
Yes.
Councillor Miltenberg.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Vanstone. Use your microphone, please.
No.
Councillor Blake.
No.
Councillor Hickey.
No.
Mayor McNeil.
Yes.
The vote carries.
Thank you. Appointment of winter students is 64-2025, and I would entertain a mover and a seconder for this, please. And that is Councillor Blake and Forrester, that leave be given to introduce bylaw number 64-2025, being a bylaw to appoint winter positions for the Lucknow District Joint Recreation Department, and that it now be read severally, a first, second, and third time, and finally passed this 4th day of November 2025. All in favor of the motion? And that is carried. Thank you. We do have a closed session today, and I would entertain a mover and a seconder to move into our closed session, please. That is Deputy Mayor Vanstone and Councillor Forrester, that Ashfield-Colborne-Wawanosh Township Council move into a closed session in accordance with 239 in brackets 2 and brackets E of the Municipal Act, with the CAO, Clerk, and Public Works Superintendent remaining in attendance at 9:36 a.m. for the purpose of discussing litigation, including matters before administrative tribunals affecting the municipality, and that being litigation affecting the municipality. All in favor of the motion is read. And that is carried. Howbeit we have a break, and to allow our clerk an opportunity to secure the meeting. Thank you very much to all members of the public for joining us today. And we will be in recess and return at 9:45. Thank you. We're now in our open session, and I will defer to our clerk for reporting out of our closed session, please.
There's nothing to report.
Thank you very much. I will entertain a mover and a seconder for the confirmatory bylaw, please. Deputy Mayor Van Stone moves, Councillor Blake seconds, that leave be given to introduce bylaw number 65-2025, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the Township of Ashfield-Colborne-Wawanosh Council meeting held on the 4th day of November 2025, and that now be read severally a first, second, and third time, and finally passed this 4th day of November 2025. All in favor of the motion is read. That is carried, and I would entertain a mover and a seconder for adjournment, please. And that is Councillor Miltenberg and Forrester, that Ashfield-Colborne-Wawanosh Township Council does now adjourn to meet again on the 18th day of November 2025 at 9 a.m. or at the call of the mayor. All in favor of this motion. That is carried. The meeting is adjourned. Thank you very much to all for your thoughtful input.
Thanks very much. Have a good day, everybody.
Goodbye, Anita.
Bye-bye.